Hi, it's me again, Carol. 30-day challenge. I just want to do a quick finish off of the journal cover. So I'll just move this out of the way. There you go, that's that gone. My big heavy book. Yeah, that's that one gone. No bingo wings for me. Not we're lifting heavy books like that anyway. I lie, of course, I have got bingo wings. Cover. So this has now dried. So as you can see, I can just pull on it slightly and it won't come apart. You might end up with a slight gap down there. You might end up with a slight bit of glue oozing out. That's absolutely fine because we're going to be covering this over. Not right now, that'll be nearer the end. And then if we turn to the inside, we've then got this flap here. Don't worry about the flap. Don't worry about this bit of white showing here and here. We will cover all of that later on. But I just wanted to show you that what I'm going to do is I'm just going to punch out my holes. Now, I don't have the money for one of those fancy crocodiles. So I've got my little hole punchy here, £2 something off eBay, and it does the trick for me. That is until it breaks and then I'll cry, but then it's not a great deal of money to replace it. So that's that little bit done, and then I can put my cord back in place for the handles. And I like the idea of the handles because I like the idea that you can carry the journal by carrying it by the handles rather than trying to carry the whole journal somewhere and try not to squash it. There we go. So my handles are now back in place, so it means that when it's shut it looks like a gift bag. So no one would know it was a book, and that is until they saw all the paper inside of it, of course, obviously. So just very quickly as well, I wanted to talk to you about the signatures. Now, a signature is a collection of folded papers. So it's a little bit like a chapter. It's more than a chapter sometimes, but if you imagine that that's a chapter and then that's another chapter. And the reason why we have signatures is that if you have a look at a book like my Bingo Wings book, when you look at it down the side down here, you'll see it's a collection of folded papers like this, but obviously much more flattened than mine. Because there's a lot more of them. Now if you imagine all of those papers, let me move that out of the way again, and we just keep sitting them inside each other all the time, eventually you'll end up with this stepping effect here rather than them all sitting neatly in line with each other. So instead of them all being neat and in a straight line, they would all start protruding out. And so that's why they break them down into a few sheets of paper and class that as a signature, and then the next few sheets together, and that's another signature, and so on and so forth until the book is complete. Now in this particular instance, we're going to do 2 signatures. I'm creating 2 journals to demonstrate to you. One is made with tea dyed paper, which is this one here, and the other is done with coffee dyed paper. So you can see, I don't know if you'll see in this light, but one is actually slightly stronger in colour than the other, and of course it smells as coffee as well, whereas the tea one doesn't smell of anything, it just smells of nothing. So we're doing 2 signatures. Within each signature there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 sheets of paper. Now on some groups, if you join in a challenge or a swap, it will talk to you about different things about the paper. So this is 8 sheets. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides to each sheet of paper because we're folding it in half. All right, so that becomes a page, that becomes a page, and another, and another. So when it talks to you about 8 sheets, 16 sides, 32 pages. So if I counted all of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there would be 32. Okay, so there's 32 sides, but we're using 8 pieces of paper folded in half. Now you will need to decide for yourself, depending on your cover, whether you can get away with just folding them in half or whether you'll need to trim them down slightly to be able to fit inside of your journal. Okay, because you don't want them so big that they're then protruding out the edge of the journal cover. So we want them to be sat in comfortably. Now I've left plenty of room from the edge of my paper to the edge of the cover. The reason being is that this is going to get so bulky, and also there's lace and things to be put onto the edge of the paper as well, that it will actually protrude up to about this point here. And so excuse me, there's a little bit of leeway then from the edge of the cover to the edge of the paper itself. You will need to decide for yourself what size paper you're using and what size you're going to cut them down to. So as I say, we are doing 2 signatures, 8 pages, 8 sheets of paper for each signature. One will go there and one will go there, so that when we close it up, that's what it will look like. So as you can see, that's just the 16 pages of paper there, and this is what it looks like when you start to fill it with your pockets and things. Now as I say, this is just the bare bones at the moment. This hasn't got any tags or journaling cards or little booklets in there, so that's going to be a real fatty when it's done, but that's what it starts out like. So this is something else that you need to consider when you're making journals, is whilst it starts off like that, it can end up being like that, and it will eventually end up being a lot fatter once you've added all the other bits and pieces to it. So that's where you need to contemplate about how many pages you are having in each signature and how many signatures you are adding to each individual journal. So as I say, all I've done is I've folded my paper in half and then just sat them one inside of the other. Now some of these pages are just paper. All of these pages are just paper. I need to change some of these to card instead of being paper, because there are a couple of pages within the journal. I'll just show you one of them quickly, where I used paper. This one in particular, and I don't know whether you'll see, but because of the weight here of the item that I made, it's making the paper bow. It can't support the weight of the item that I've attached to it. And so that really could have done with a piece of card. Now, as we go through each page and create each embellishment part, I will tell you whether it needs to be paper or card. So have some coffee dyed or tea dyed card to hand as well, so that you can substitute out the paper page for a card page. So this is another one that could really have done with being a piece of card, because that's got quite a bit of weight on it as well. There was one other thing I was going to tell you. What was it? Can anyone think what it was? Yeah, I've remembered. Now at this point, we are not sewing these signatures into the journal cover. we're not doing that. They need to be loose, and I will explain why when we come to work the first part of decorating the pages. Okay, I think that's it. No, one other thing. Here, see that was the leftover bit of the bag. I don't need that. That can go in the bin. You see that? That's the base of the bag. It's all sticky, so I'm not going to keep that. So that can go in the bin. But this was the side, the other side of the gusset, and I'm going to keep that because I will be able to use that for sticking some embellishments on. So I'm going to keep that. And when I trimmed the black card down, those were the bits that were left over from the black card, and I'm going to keep those as well. And so what I do is I keep a folder with each project that I'm working on, because I have quite a few, and I'd get them all muxed up if I didn't do this. So I keep all those bits in there, and then you'll see my other folder as we're going on as well when it comes to creating all the embellishment bits too. So that's all I need you to do for now, is to get your front cover ready, get your signatures ready, and as I say, as we go through, I'll tell you which ones that we're exchanging the paper for a card page. And when I say a piece of card, I mean something like a 160 to 210 GSM card. All right, this is 80 GSM paper, so it's just ordinary photocopying paper. But the heavier weight card that you need is 160, well, even 120, 160 to 210 GSM. No more than that though, because you can get heavier card than that. But that's what we're going to be swapping out some of these pages for. Right, I'm prattling on again. I'm going. See you later. Try.